Assemblywoman Reynolds Jackson, Kelly. When I ran for governor, I promised to build a more affordable, accountable New Jersey. And I promised to focus on results. So we're here to talk about some real progress that has been made. And it couldn't happen in a better place, because I can tell you that if you come into contact with my government in no other way, you are probably going to go find yourself at an MVC at some point, because that is the way that most people have some engagement when you go to get a driver's license. And in too many cases and too many times, it's been too difficult. And I sort of jokingly tell the story about how my husband and I, before we were even married, I think the biggest fights we got in were going to the MVC and somebody forgetting some paperwork and having to return. It is really challenging, especially if you're a working mom with kids and you're taking time out of your day to go. And so because of that, because everybody has so much engagement, and because it can be such a challenging thing if you don't get the results you want on the first try, I scoured the country. And I think we hired the best MVC commissioner that can be found anywhere in the country. She did amazing things in Colorado, and that's why we lured her to New Jersey so that she could take on this challenge. Because at the time, we were 49th in the country on real ID uptake. In fact, I was hearing stories on my campaign of people who were being told it would be faster to just go get a passport than get an appointment for real ID. That's not acceptable. And so we needed the people who work at MVC to have the tools they deserve to get these appointments done, to get people through the process quickly. And that's where Rosalie comes in, because she has taken a look at what we are doing and really started to look at the numbers, the metrics, how many people were coming in with paperwork errors, what could she do to help fix that? And that's why she made sure to change it, giving 4 more MVC offices the capacity to process real ID applications, letting people provide proof of address electronically, because so many of us don't get those paper envelopes anymore. It's all being done online, and yet we had nothing to show at the MVC when we wanted to prove our ID. So she's allowing that to be done electronically. As a result, the MVC has processed over 300,000 MVC IDs during the first 4 months that our administration's been in office. That is a testament to the wonderful men and women who work in the MVC taking on this challenge with Rosalie and getting that done. In fact, that included over 100,000 in May alone, the most ever. So we are really not just hitting the ground running, hitting the ground sprinting. Wait times for a real ID appointment fell from 73 days to 40 days, and we're going to get that down even more. Overall compliance is up more than 12% to 2.5 million New Jerseyans, and the number of people forced to make a second appointment has fallen by nearly half, so that we can make sure you come in, get this done on the first try. It might sound simple, but what that means is nearly 7,000 people every single month who aren't forced to come back. 7,000 people a month who don't feel like the bureaucracy is giving them a runaround. 7,000 appointment slots we can open up to other New Jerseyans, reducing their wait times too. The speed at which these changes were made under Rosalie's leadership has been amazing. And it makes such a big difference for people across our state, for our MVC staff, people who work day in and day out for us, and for boosting trust in our government. I really believe all of the problems, even our tough problems here in New Jersey, are solvable, and that we can do that with the great state workers that we have. And the MVC is just one fantastic example of why I believe that's true and how we can see that at work. So I want to thank our whole Motor Vehicle Commission, every single person who's worked so hard to make this happen. And I want to thank Rosalie herself. And without further ado, I will invite her up. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming out and joining MVC today. I am so incredibly proud and honored to be here with such an amazing and dedicated team here with MVC. Like the governor just said, there's a lot of changes that have been made in the first several months here. And none of those changes would have been possible without all of the employees' buy-in and gutso to get everything moving, and really just taking the time to meet with our employees. One of the first things that we did is going out to each of our offices, talking with our staff, a lot of times with donuts to break the ice.
How many today?
Oh my gosh, I think we're probably about 800 now. To break the ice, but then talk with the employees to say, these are our frontline staff. They are the first people that come to see. They know the processes the best and where the bottlenecks are and where we can be more efficient. And then again, looking at the data, right? So not only understanding where we are in current state, but being able to create goals that are based on strategic priority initiatives. And our first strategic priority initiative is to be seen as a predominantly positive experience with MVC here in New Jersey. And we're doing that, and we're measuring our success for that priority initiative through several different wildly important goals, to include how long it takes to get a Real ID appointment, to include how many of our constituents here in New Jersey have a Real ID, accessibility to get that Real ID, as well as our wait times in office, our call centers. So we're looking at everything all around, not just the hot topic buttons that are out there. We are getting those done, and we are getting more efficient with that. But we're also looking at everything as a whole at MVC here. Again, I'm so incredibly proud and happy to share this excellent news and getting New Jersey up to the top elite with Real ID compliance around the nation. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Kelly Duchette.
Thanks so much, Rosalie, for your leadership at Motor Vehicles, and to Governor Sherrill for bringing us together today, making it clear from day one that state government must operate with a service-first mentality, a bias to action, and a real commitment to delivering results. And all of the data that everyone's talked about today is so fantastic, but I have a great anecdotal story. I was on the train yesterday, and there was someone, I was at one of the table seats, someone sitting right across from me at the table, and said to his traveling partner, "I'm on the train today because my Real ID and my passport were stolen." So I said, "Hey, I work for the state. Is there anything you need to know about replacing your Real ID?" And he looked at me and said, "Oh, you work for the state. I have to tell you, I just went to the Trenton MVC to get my Real ID replaced." And I took a little breath, because having worked years and years and years in constituent services at the governor's congressional office, you never totally know what's going to come. And he said, "I have to tell you, it was such a great experience. They were so efficient and effective that I brought all my papers, and they were really clear about which ones I exactly needed, and got me through really quickly." And that, I think, just speaks volumes more than maybe anything that we can say today about that sort of real-time experience. Because when the governor signed Executive Orders 4 and 5 on her first day in office, she sent a clear message about improving how government works, and that being a central priority of our administration. At its core, those orders reflect a simple principle. Government must be organized around the people that it serves. New Jersey residents experience government through the services they rely on every day. They expect government to work efficiently, effectively, and in a way that respects their time. That means focusing on execution, identifying barriers, improving operations, and supporting agencies as they work to provide better service. It also means building a culture across state government that is focused on results, regularly bringing agency leaders together, and helping teams solve problems more quickly and consistently. That's why the progress we've seen at MVC since January 20th is so important. MVC, as the governor said, is where New Jerseyans interact with the state most frequently. For many residents, their experience at MVC is one of the clearest measures of whether government is working well. Acting Chief Administrator Johnson and her team understand that clearly. They're deeply engaged in the details that determine whether residents feel improvement in real time. As you heard today, they have focused on practical, measurable improvements that make a real difference for customers, expanding appointment availability, improving access to Real ID services, and making it easier for residents to complete transactions successfully the first time. That is what a culture of responsiveness looks like in practice. Identifying challenges, making common sense adjustments, and staying focused on the customer experience. Real ID is a clear example. This is exactly the kind of challenge government should be focused on solving, identifying where residents are getting stuck in the system and making practical changes that improve service. We know that there's more work ahead at MVC and across state government, but today is an important example of what happens when government is willing to look closely at how services are delivered, listen to the people using those services, hold themselves accountable, and keep pushing to improve. Governor Sherrill has challenged all of us to bring urgency, accountability, and a relentless focus on service to this work, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do. And this work only happens in partnership with the legislature, and there is no better partner than Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds Jackson. And I'm so happy she's here with us today and would like to turn the program over to her.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I'm super excited that you all are here as well. I want to thank Chief Administrator Johnson, and a special shout out to our mobile van unit number 3, who comes to the City of Trenton often. Debbie, thank you for your leadership and your team. You know, for us, it's really important to make sure that we have access to these resources, to Real ID. And I'm grateful to partner with MVC to make sure that we remove those barriers so that we can all have access. I received phone calls too. I got one from someone that recently that talked about going to their family reunion, and that's important, but she needed her Real ID in order to be able to travel. So when I explained to her the process and what we needed to do, it was really important that she understood that now you can make your appointment, but you can also upload your documents. Because there's nothing like going to an appointment and getting turned away. We get frustrated, we're angry, and it's probably going to take us even longer, and she might not have been able to travel to her family reunion. So I'm grateful for all to be able to increase our numbers to 300,000. I thank our partners, our faith-based organizations that had the mobile van at their facilities, our community centers. All of these places are welcoming the MVC van to their communities to be able to help our constituents. And a big shout out to my county, our Mercer County Improvement Authority, where the arena is. We also use that location. And so there's many more to come. And so I thank you for the resources to be able to make sure that we get people to get their Real ID. But it's listening to the community, removing barriers, and creating access for everyone. And so I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to many, many more Real IDs being issued.
Okay, we'll start with some on-topic questions from the press.
Yes, this probably is a question for the chief. Actually, a couple of questions. New Jersey has a history of having people, as the governor referred to, as very frustrated and in particular Real ID. Not too long ago, it took months, and up to 3 months, to make an appointment, and you wouldn't necessarily get an appointment if you lived in Central Jersey. You might have to go to South Jersey, or somebody in North Jersey would have to go to South Jersey. And you talk about what are we looking at right now? Somebody goes on the website. Number one, do they still have to make an appointment online? Number two, what's the average time they're going to have to wait to get to the appointment? Where will they have to go? And then also, what kind of documents can you upload before you head into an office, and why have you decided to do that?
Thank you so much for the question. So, to start out, as the governor had mentioned, we were at around 75 days to get a Real ID appointment in the state. And so we did a few things. We added Real ID appointments to 4 new locations that had previously had just done vehicle services. So we're adding Real ID appointments and have had those at those 4 locations. We have also required that previously the proofs of address were to be paper, right? And so part of the Real ID Modernization Act actually allows for you to present those electronically. So the upload really is the ability to bring in that proof of your residential address on your mobile phone or electronically and present it at the counter that way. And so now I'm so happy to say and reiterate that we are at 40 days on average to get the Real ID appointment from 75. And we're going to continue to move the needle on that as we continue to see more and more people, like the governor mentioned, about 7,000 a month right now that don't need to come back again for a second appointment. That's 7,000 more appointments that are going to be open, and that number is going to continue to improve and grow. And so we look forward to being able to, again, provide that accessibility is what's really important to get the Real ID and continue to grow from that. We're at about 2.5 million of our residents right now to whatever's most accessible to New Jersey.
So if you live in Central Jersey, Mercer County, for example, you make an appointment, you're saying within 40 days you should be able to get an appointment. Would that be in Central New Jersey, or do you have to go to Cape May?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So the 40 days is for the state average. So there might be some locations like Mercer County where it's 10 days. And there might be other locations where it is 15 days or 20 days, but the 40 days is the average for the entire state.
If I may, another question. Normally, the appointments are updated every 24 hours. I believe it was just after midnight. There'd be a new slew of appointments made available online. Is that still going to be the situation? And if you just talk about the advantage of that kind of system.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So yes, we do continue to release appointments on a regular basis, and that will continue to be the process. We're also very data driven here at MVC. So we are looking at metrics like how many people abandon their appointments or are no-shows to their appointments. And as you know, probably similar to airlines, we are overbooking our appointments knowing that a certain percentage don't show up. Right, so we're overbooking to that way we're not wasting those time frames and those booking appointments, and we're getting even more and more people in every single day.
So what would your advice be to residents who have been frustrated in the past?
Sure,
Maybe even given up?
sure.
At this point in time, is there a real
Yeah.
new situation here
Yeah.
to let them know about?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And just like we show here, Real ID, real progress. If somebody has been frustrated in the past and they're like, forget it, I'm not even going to try and make an appointment and get it done, I encourage and plead with them to make the appointment. Make sure that you also use all of our tools and resources that we have on our website to ensure that you have all the documents that you need to make that first trip successful. Please come back again. We are happy to help. We are here to get to yes for all of our customers and help them along the way.
So I'll turn it over to our MVC commissioner so she can talk, because we found her in Colorado. She's a national expert in how DMVs, as they call them in other states, MVC here, how they are run across the country. And so, for example, she flagged that the Real ID law, the federal law, allows you to use these electronic data points, which were not allowed here in New Jersey. So things like that have enabled us to get better uptake. Also, just the discussion you've just heard, and I can attest to it, several months ago, getting an appointment to get a Real ID was almost impossible around here. So making sure she opened up those 4 other sites, got how many thousand more appointments a month are you at?
Right now we're at about 16,000.
About 16,000 more appointments a month she's just added so people can get in and get that Real ID. And I'll turn it over if you have anything to add.
And thank you for the question. So there are a lot of variables and factors that go into it, but Governor Sherrill hit the nail on the head, right? It was such a frustrating experience for folks that, and I think a story that we heard earlier, right? They thought it was easier to get their passport and just have that than their real ID. So it was really about accessibility. And it's really also about having those proofs of identity, which are more strict for a real ID. So being able to make sure that you have all that documentation. But like I said, New Jersey is well on our way to get the uptick and create the accessibility for folks to get a real ID in an efficient time. So anybody who wants one, needs one, doesn't have that frustrating experience and will come in and get it.
I'm just curious. So you cut the wait time down from 76 to 40 days. What's acceptable? How much lower is it going to go? What's acceptable? And how many New Jerseyans actually have real ID?
2.5 million people have Real ID now. I would like, I will leave it up to our expert here to tell you what's realistic. What I would like to see is anybody can sort of walk into an MVC and get an appointment right away and get their Real ID done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. So, an acceptable wait time to get a real ID. We would love anybody to any type of appointment that they have with the MVC be able to get in as quickly as possible, right? Within several days or when works best for them. For some customers, they want an appointment in 2 weeks. They don't want one today. So again, the acceptable rate for that really depends on things that we can and can't control. We as MVC can control the accessibility, the ease of which to get their real ID is done in the office, which reduces return visits. If folks don't have that documentation, we can't control that. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they have one visit, it's successful, and that everybody that makes a real ID appointment gets it for when they want it, whether it's in 2 weeks or in 2 days. That's what we're looking for. It's just that accessibility to be able to come in and get the work done that they need.
Just a couple of points of clarification. The 4 locations that you added to get a real ID, what are they? And are the documents you upload in the system, is that just for your address or does it cover any other documents?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the 4 offices that we have added these real ID appointments for is Trenton, here at Trenton. We've added at Medford, we've added at Springfield, and then we've added at South Brunswick. So those are the 4 offices. And again, it's not necessarily an upload, it's being able to bring in that proof of address electronically. So just to clarify that piece of it. And that is the only... Yeah, that is the only piece that they're able to bring electronically at this time, and that's because of federal regulations around Real ID.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.